Hi, I'm Jules Mitchell. Welcome to Udaya.com. Today's yoga and movement exploration class is called Foot This and Foot That. And it's an exploration on basically the tripod of the foot, the mechanics of the foot, and how this relates to standing postures. So we're going to start on our backs, but before you do turn around and go down onto your back, make sure you have a strap nearby because we're going to need that pretty quickly, and 2 blocks. And if you don't have 2 blocks at home, you can just grab anything that you would like a couple stacks of books or something like that. Anything with a little bit of height will work. And then why don't we go ahead and lay on our back. Go ahead and bend your knees and put your feet flat on the floor. And start to feel the different points of contact that your feet have on the floor. You'll notice that even though your feet, we say your feet are flat on the floor, but you actually have some spaces underneath. We have some arches of the feet where the feet do not touch. And those are actually 3 arches. There's an arch across the inner side of the foot, which you're probably familiar with. We also have a smaller arch on the outer part of the foot, the lateral side of the foot. And for some of you at home, you might actually feel that part is not lifted from the earth. But for some of you, it might still be touching, but maybe perhaps a little bit lighter than at the ball of the foot or at the heel. And we also have a transverse arch across the middle of the foot. And those three arches together make a triangle or a tripod, which is a very stable structure. So while you're lying here on the floor with your feet touching the ground, we're going to try and map out this tripod of the foot using 3 points. So go ahead and just put a little extra pressure under the center of your heel. The bone there is called the calcaneus. And then you can let that go after you've just kind of found where that is. And then put a little extra pressure under the ball of the foot by the big toe side. And then you can let that go after you've done that for a little bit. And then put a little extra pressure at the ball of the foot on the little toe side. So those are the 3 points: the center of the heel, the ball of the foot at the big toe mound, and the ball of the foot at the little toe side. And now kind of explore pressing all 3 at once. And don't press too hard. It should just be a subtle exploration. And when you press all 3 at once, just notice if the arches, the lift, the part of the foot that's not touching the ground, if they change at all. If you need to adjust maybe the width of your feet or move them further or closer from your body just so you can feel a little bit more comfortable, go ahead. Also notice when you do push down through the 3 points, what your toes do. And then let's start a little exploration with the right side. So what you'll do is you'll take your right leg and you'll just move that right knee ever so slightly toward the midline, so inward, and then outward, past center over to the left. Just ever so slightly. They're not going to be large movements. You're going to roll in and out, and notice how the weight on the tripod shifts a little bit. At this point, don't lift any part of your foot. Just notice how the foot has a bit of flexibility to it. And when you bring your knee in, you get a little heavier on the big toe side. And when you bring the knee out, you get a little heavier on the little toe side. But in between those, we have 3 other toes, right? And so the foot actually has this ability to be flexible. And that's what we're really looking at today. And as you continue to go in and out, maybe each time go just a little bit further, seeing if you can still maintain the tripod of the foot. So you're really challenging sort of your limit. Nice, Melissa. And while you're doing this exploration, also just notice how there's more of a global response when the weight in the foot shifts. So just pay attention to what your shin bone is doing. your tibia, and then right next to it is another kind of supportive bone called the fibula, and these are these two long bones, and they have a relationship. So see if you can tap into that. And notice what your knee is doing and maybe what your hip is doing as well. And then come back into the center. And this time I'm going to ask you to do something a little bit more challenging, but the idea is that you start to see how the ankle bone is incorporated into this, or the ankle joint, I should say, which is made up of a bone that sits above that heel bone, the calcaneus. And then on top of that is where your shin bone sits, your tibia. So the foot has a lot of different joints and it's quite complicated. I won't go into much more anatomy, but I want you to just understand in your mind how many different joint surfaces you're dealing with in these simple little movements. So this time you're going to take your right knee and you're going to bring it out toward the right, so to the outside, but try to lift the outer edge of your foot as you do that. So don't roll onto the outer edge of your foot. Keep the tripod to start. Take your right knee out and see if you can lift the outer edge of the foot. You have to negotiate a lot in the ankle. You guys notice that? So just try and do that a few times. You roll out, lift the outer edge, and come back to the center. And a lot of you over here are trying to lift your toes to get that, because where you're lacking a little bit of ankle play, your toes are saying, I'll help. So see if you can keep the toes out of it. So the foot stays down, but the outer edge tries to lift as the knee goes out to the side. And the movements are small. There's really not much to see. It's more just to feel. Nice. There's those toes. There's those toes. There's those toes. Good. And then just stretch your legs out and rest for a second. Observe if there's a difference between the right and left side. And then go ahead and bend your knees up. Let's do the same with the left side. So we'll start first, just maintain the tripod and take the knee in and out. And again, the movements are somewhat small. Chelsea, your right and left side are quite different. Good. So you just maintain the tripod of the foot, the little toe side, the big toe side, the heel, as you go in and out. And you feel this sort of flexibility diagonally across the foot from the heel to the opposite side of the ball of the foot. And then come back to the center so the knee's pointing straight up. And now we'll add, you're taking the left knee to the left, but you're lifting the outer edge of the left foot at the same time. Again, you're requiring a lot of play in the ankle joint here. Getting the fibula and the tibia, so the two bones and the lower leg, to move in relation to each other is really an important aspect of movement and gait and walking. And then also how the tibia rotates underneath the femur, underneath the thigh bone. That's also an important aspect of movement and gait. Sometimes we overlook them, or we forget about them, or they just become sort of stuck and rigid. And while you're doing this, of course, compare the sides. Remember how it was on the right and see if your left side is easier or more difficult. And then stretch your legs out and rest. Good. One more little sort of investigation here, and then we will move into our yoga asana practice. So bend your knees up again one more time. This time we're going to do both legs. You're going to go, the knees can go to the same side. So you're going to just take the legs side to side. And in the beginning, just go slowly. Again, slow, small movements. Just start with maintaining the tripod. So start with maintaining the 3 points of both feet and just see what that is. And again, if you need to adjust the sort of distance of your feet, go ahead. I haven't told you really where to put your feet, and everybody's got something different. So no big deal, just explore. And then start to increase the left and right a little bit more so that you start to kind of roll onto the side of the foot, the inner edge and the outer edge, and then go the other way. And then the next time you're over on the right, pause there, which means that the outer edge of your right foot will be on the floor. The inner edge of your left foot will be on the floor. Yes. Now pause there. And now can you initiate back to center from the flexibility of the foot, from that tripod of the foot, and come back to the center? So initiate from the feet. Good. Go back to the right again. Same starting position. This time, when you come up to the center, initiate from the knees and feel how it's different. Good. Do it a couple more times. Go to the right, initiate from the flexibility of the foot. So you have this sort of diagonal bending of the foot from one side to the other to get you to come up. Go over to the right and initiate from the knees. Compare the difference. And not just in your feet, but in a full global response. Notice your breath. Notice your jaw, your neck, your shoulders. Do it one more time on your own, initiating from the feet, and then again from the knees. These could be very useful observations in your standing poses, right? Paying attention to how the feet inform the rest of the body. And then start to go to the left after you've done that. So you know what you're doing, so go to the left and go to the outer edge of the foot and do it 3 times. So you just go to the left, that's your starting point, and then 3 times you'll initiate from the feet to come to center, and then you'll initiate from the knees to come to center. So do that on your own 3 times and then stretch your legs out and rest. Again, paying attention to the global response. What's your pelvis doing? What do you feel in your lower back? What do you feel in your shoulders? Marla, how was that? Good? Okay. Great. After you finish those, remember, stretch your legs out and rest. And then go ahead and make your way up to seated. And if you need to sit on a blanket, you've all got one behind you, or if you're at home, just roll up your mat or just grab something to sit on. And then just join the soles of your feet together in front of you. This is not TRIKONASANA, so you don't need to go for some big stretch or anything. Just put your feet out in front of you comfortably with the soles of the feet touching. And now's a really good opportunity to explore those 3 arches that I discussed, right? So we have this medial arch, which is the biggest arch. We have the lateral arch, which is the one closer to the floor, and you might see a little space between your feet where you can see the floor. And then we have a transverse arch, which goes again across the middle of the foot. And notice how, if you're looking at the sole of your foot, that what is happening here is you're creating sort of a dome, right? This dome shape. We have several domes in the body, right? We have a pelvic floor dome. We have the thoracic diaphragm where we breathe dome. That goes on, right? But we also have this in our feet. So just kind of think of this buoyant dome shape as we go through the practice. And then even here, when you're looking down at your feet, just compare your right and left foot. You know, sometimes you look at one and it looks very familiar, but then you look at the other one and you can't recognize whose foot that is, even though it's the matching foot to the other one. So just be with them for a moment. And then from here, grab your strap. And you're going to lay down one more time. If you don't have a strap, you can just use a towel at home or any other, a belt or scarf or anything like that. Bend both legs, put your feet on the floor. Pull your right knee into your chest and just strap the strap over the ball of the right foot and stretch that leg straight up. It's early. Do not go for your biggest hamstring stretch. If you want to keep the left knee bent and the foot flat on the floor, that's fine. If you want to stretch it out, you can. But we're exploring the foot here. I want you to have an opportunity to see your foot. So again, don't go through the biggest stretch. And be a little bit light on the strap to start. So you can just see, if you look at your foot, what happens, right? If you look at the tripod of your foot and your foot's now in the sky, if the ceiling were to come down, would the tripod of the foot be even on the ceiling, which would be the floor? And if not, maybe make a small adjustment. Maybe press a little bit more through the big toe mound, press a little bit more through whichever you need to do, maybe the little toe mound or the heel. If your leg's not totally at 90 degrees, then the ceiling will be coming down at diagonal. That's fine too. Like how Yohai is doing back here, yes. He's actually got the back wall coming toward him. But experiment with that. So just like before, I asked you to press through each 3 points. Feel what happens if you, one at a time, press through the heel, press through the ball of the foot, on the big toe side, press through the ball of the foot on the little toe side, and how that changes not just in the shin and the ankle, but also in the thigh and in the hip and globally throughout the body. And if you find that it's harder for you to connect with one certain point, this is going to tell you a lot about what happens when you stand up. Because when you stand up, how our foot negotiates with the floor is going to be different than how our foot negotiates with open space like this. Okay? And then go ahead and switch legs. So just bring that leg down. Put the strap around your left foot. So a little explorative Supta Padangustasana. Doesn't have to be a big stretch. If you want the big stretch, you can go ahead and take that. Now notice right away how this foot is different. See if you can get the 3 points. 3 points to be touching that imaginary ceiling coming down. And then go through the whole sequence. Heel, press through the heel a little bit more, press through the little toe, press through the big toe mound. See where it's more challenging. And the dome should be there, right? See if you can find and connect with that dome. And then slowly release. And go ahead and roll over onto your hands and knees. Just stretch one leg back behind you like that leg is in plank, and just stretch the sole of the foot. So the toes tuck under, and you're reaching back, and just stack the heel above the toes so the heel's not dropping back. So again, if the back wall were to come back, you'd be on that tripod. So you might need to slide the toes back a little bit more. Notice if not all of your toes touch the floor. Notice if your toes perhaps don't curl under. So we have some pretty flexible feet here, but at home, if you're used to wearing shoes a lot, you might find that your feet are really limited in flexibility. So this would be a good class for you. And then switch legs. Even though you're stretching the sole of the foot, you are still connecting with the dome, with the tripod. And then bring that knee down. And then let's just come up to standing any way you'd like. Come to the top of your mat. Place your feet in any comfortable position, hip distance, feet together, wider, it doesn't really matter. And don't even worry about paralleling your feet. We often give a lot of cues. I've done it before as well, where you parallel your feet, but depending on how much torsion you have in the lower leg, parallel might actually be not something that's normal for you or natural. So don't worry about it. Just find a comfortable position where you can feel the tripod of your feet. And go ahead and close your eyes. And do the same thing that we did when you were on your back. You're going to find the center of the heel. You're going to find the big toe mound and the little toe mound, keeping the toes out of it as much as possible. Imagine your toes were growing long. Toes on the mat. Growing long. And then let's play with a little bit of the foot spiral. So remember I said that the foot is flexible, right? So just from your own, kind of in your mind's eye, press from the outer heel all the way diagonally across the foot to the big toe mound. And you should feel that the foot has this flexibility, this rotation when you do that. Kind of rotates on the diagonal. That's this internal rotation of the foot. And then let that go, and then press from the little or the inner heel to the little toe side, and that's your external rotation of the foot. And notice if one's easier than the other. And maybe you're already there. Maybe you're already externally rotated in the foot, so it's easier for you to find the internal because you have more space to explore and navigate. And then do them both at the same time. So outer, well, one after the other, but maintain them both. So outer heel to big toe, and then inner heel to little toe. And when you do that, can you feel the dome lift? Can you feel that tripod of the foot just a little bit more? And then go ahead and open your eyes slowly. Don't lose that X in the foot, but really focus here on the heel. And when you're ready, on an inhale, stretch your arms up. And ground through the heels. Avoid desire to lift the heels as you exhale and go down into a forward bend. You can bend the knees as much as you need to. Here's a good opportunity to look at your feet. Oftentimes, many of us in one foot or both, when we just stand, we are having the talus, the bone that sits above the heel bone, there's a little bit of a shift, and we end up falling maybe to the inner or outer edge of the foot. So see if you can find that center of the heel for you. Nice adjustment, Chelsea. Good. Inhale, stretch your chest forward. Exhale, forward bend. Inhale, stretch your arms all the way up. Reach up. Feel the tripod the whole time. Exhale, bring your hands down to your chest. 2 more like that. Inhale, stretch your arms out. Exhale, heels stay grounded, forward bend. Nice. Inhale, stretch the chest forward. Exhale, forward bend. Inhale, stretch the arms up, stand up. Exhale, bring your hands together at your chest. 1 more. Inhale, stretch the arms out. Exhale, forward bend. Great. Inhale, stretch the chest forward and stay here. Stay here and breathe. Can you negotiate in this posture how the tripod of the foot relates to the lower leg? When you work with the inner spiral of the foot or the outer spiral of the foot, can you feel how that translates up the legs? And then from here, step back into plank. And just like we did before with the single leg, make sure your toes are curled under. Your heels are stacked right above your toes. So some of you might need to slide the toes back a little bit more. So the heel is right above the ball of the foot. And it's like you're trying to push off your toes. So that really creates a little bit of lift as the connective tissue at the bottom of the foot becomes stiff. And then exhale, make your way all the way down to the ground. Good. Untuck your toes. Keep your hands right where they are. In a moment, we'll come into a cobra. And same thing here. This is always really hard for people. But, we always say put all 10 toenails on the ground. What we're asking you to do is find that flexibility of the foot. So really, really spread the foot onto the ground. The whole shoelace part of your foot goes on the ground. Notice if your heels roll in or out. This is telling you a lot about what happens when you stand. Yeah, just negotiate it. You can go too far one direction and then too far the other direction. If you can't feel your feet on the ground at all, then maybe slide a blanket or something underneath. You'll have a little bit of extra support, and you'll be able to find the earth because you'll bring the earth up to you a little bit. Nice work, Chelsea. Good. Now from here, come into a cobra and don't lose that work in the feet. Maybe a little lower cobra for today's practice. And then exhale, lower down. Nice. Tuck your toes under, either roll back onto your knees or push up to a plank and pull all the way back into downward dog. We made it to downward dog. From here, can you feel that your toes are growing long? But at the same time that your toes are growing long, we have the opposite, and that's that your foot is stretching, the sole of the foot is stretching from the toes all the way back along the sole of the foot through the heels. And when you do that, what do you feel further up the chain? What do you feel in the lower legs? What do you feel in the hips? And then slowly walk your feet forward to your hands. Inhale, stretch your chest forward. Exhale, forward bend. Inhale, stand all the way up. Exhale, bring your hands down to your chest. Release your hands down to your side. Tree pose without reaching for the foot. So again, just find a comfortable position. If you find that you're really struggling to balance when your feet are parallel, and turning a foot out allows just a little bit, allows you to find the tripod of the foot a little bit better, I'm okay with that for today. Okay, so it's much more complicated than I can get into in an online class, but really just focus on the tripod. So shift the weight into your left foot, and then bring your right leg up into tree pose without reaching down. You can have your hands by your side or on your hip, whatever's comfortable for you. If you like your hands at your chest, you can do that. No using your hand, Melissa. She apologized. Yeah, I want you to use that right hamstring. Now, if you notice that you're using your toes, that you're lifting your toes, or that you're curling, you're trying to claw the floor with your toes, that's because you don't have a connection with that tripod very well, and you're trying to use the toes to help you balance. But if you had a really, really good foot flexibility and you could feel all 3 points, then your toes wouldn't have to get as involved. One more breath here, and exhale, lower the foot down. Good. Find Tadasana again, and then switch sides. And again, really focus on the center of the heel. If you can feel, you might notice that you shift a little bit. So find the center of the heel, find the tripod of the foot, and then bring the left foot into tree pose. Again, the toes are stretching long, they're growing long. And notice how you've got this dome under the foot lifting, but you have a flexible foot. Take one more breath here. Stay here, exhale completely. And then when you inhale, go ahead and come on out. Feet however you want, Utkatasana, chair pose. Good. Sit a little lower. Don't worry so much about Utkatasana. Allow your knees to come forward just a little bit, just for this, because that requires a little bit of extra dorsiflexion, and dorsiflexion is related to how the two shin bones rotate relative to each other. So sometimes we always think, oh, it's just because we have a tight Achilles, and that's not always the case. Sometimes it's more of a joint issue. Good. Take one more breath here. Stay here, exhale completely. And inhale, stand all the way up, lower the arms. Great. Grab a block, because we're going to do triangle pose. Do a quarter turn to the right. Step your feet wide. Put the block behind your right foot or in front, depending on how you need it. Right foot, Molly. No, you were facing the right way, just right foot. Yeah. Good. Nice long stance. Feet are parallel to start. Nice long stance. Yep. Feet are parallel to start. Okay. Turn your right leg out. And then when you're ready, come down into triangle. If you need a second block for height, extra height, you can grab that too. TRIKONASANA. Good. Look down at the right foot for a moment and make sure that most of the weight is on the center of that right heel and that you're not rolling in or rolling out. And then press through the big toe mound. And as you do that in the right foot, as you press through the big toe mound, see how that communicates to the front of the pelvis. Can you connect it to the pubis and how the whole front of the pelvis gets a lift? And then press through the left heel. So drive that left back heel down into the floor and feel how that connects to the sitting bone and that directs the back of the pelvis. Take one more breath here. Stay here, exhale completely, push through the right ball of the foot just a little bit more, through the left heel a little bit more, and then inhale, come on up. You can bend that front knee if you have to, or use the strength of your legs when they're straight. Should have had you bring the block, but I didn't. Grab the block, put it on the other side. Start with your feet parallel for a moment. Just find the tripod of the foot. When your feet are wide, wider than your hip distance, you have to really lean on some more foot flexibility. So it might be a little bit more of a challenge for you to find it here. And then turn the left foot out when you're ready. When you're ready, come into triangle pose. Much wider stance, Matt. Longer, longer, longer. You got long legs. Nice. Press through the ball of foot of the big toe side on the left foot. You still have the whole tripod and you're still at the center of the heel. But press down and see if you can feel the connection to the front of the pelvis. It's like there's a sense of lift and buoyancy, hopefully. And then drive the right heel down into the ground. Nice. And that should connect all the way up the back side of the leg, all the way up to the sitting bone, and should really direct the pelvis. So you don't really have to worry so much about pelvic tilting and pelvic positioning here because it's coming from the feet. Take one more breath in. Exhale completely, press down through the feet just a little bit more. And then inhale, come all the way up. Nice. Step to the top of your mat. Just put your block aside. Utkatasana. Sit low, sit low, sit low, sit low. In fact, this is like not really chair pose. It's more like lower squat. Like try to get your thighs 90 degree or parallel to the floor. So 90-degree angle at the knees. If you want your knees to come forward a little bit, I'm fine with that. Allow the dorsiflexion to be tested here. Allow the shin bones to rotate in relationship to each other. So it's not just always doing Utkatasana the exact same way. Give the ankles a little bit of work and then slowly stand all the way up. Good. Take a quarter turn to the right again. Step your feet wide again. Yep, Melissa knew. Stretch your arms all the way out. Turn the right leg out. Warrior two. If you don't want to do the arms and you want to put your hands on your hips, I'm fine with that. If you want to just look straight ahead and not turn your neck, I don't care because we're really doing a foot-focused class. So it's really what's right for you. Nice long stance. Challenge yourself, please. And let's explore the back foot, on this one. Of course, you're pressing through the center of the right heel. That's given, right? But the back foot, can you feel the whole tripod of the foot? Sometimes when the foot doesn't have a lot of flexibility, we'll compensate by rolling the ankle too much. So really lift the inner left thigh. And the more you lift the inner left thigh, Elaine, will you put your left hand on your hip? Yeah. The more you lift the inner left thigh, the more that will help you ground into the foot. So you're going to be using the foot and the hip instead of the ankle. Does that feel okay? Take one more breath in. Stay here. Exhale completely. And then inhale, come all the way up. You can lower the arms. We're just going to do the other side. Turn that foot in, turn the other foot out. Bend the knee when you're ready. Warrior two. Center of the left heel. You can even look. Good. Back foot. Lift the inner right thigh to help you ground through the right foot. Can you find the tripod of the back foot? So where's all the weight? A lot of times we give the cue to press through the outer edge of the foot. Yes, I want you to press through the outer edge of the foot, but I also want you to find that inner spiral of the foot. So the outer heel to the big toe mound so that it's not just the ankle collapsing. One more breath in. Stay here. Exhale completely. And then inhale, straighten the leg, and come on up. Step to the top of your mat. Utkatasana. Nice. And this time you're going to go down lower and lower and lower and lower till you maybe end up in Malasana. If you don't, no, heels down, don't lose the tripod of the foot. So if you don't make it down, right, explore how, Melissa, heels down. It's going to be a lot harder. Good. And then stand all the way up. Take your feet a little wider, turn your feet out to whatever is comfortable for you. And one more time, we'll go down into Malasana. Okay, so everybody's got a different position. And I don't need you to go all the way down. I want you to go down only as far as you can before you lose the tripod of the foot. I won't keep you long here. But again, exploring how the relationship between the hips and the lower legs and the ankle all affects this pose. It's not just the Achilles that needs to be stretched. Good. And then slowly stand all the way up. Good. One more time, quarter turn to the right. Step your feet wide. Turn your right leg out. Warrior two. Now from here, lift your heel, right heel, and lower it down along the outer edge of the foot. So you end up landing sort of on the outer right heel. Your whole foot will come down, but you're sort of taking that path. And then lift the heel again. And feel how this is a global difference in the body as you lower down and you kind of land on more of the inner side of the heel. You're not on the edge of the foot or anything. Whole foot still comes down, but it's different, yes? Now lift the heel and now come down through the center. Nice. Good work. Straighten the leg. Let's switch sides. Good. Warrior two, lift the heel. So when you come down and land on the outer edge of the left heel, right, you're still connected. Go ahead and do it. You're still connected to the big toe mound. So you're trying to get the foot to bend a little bit. And then lift. And then come down and land a little bit on the inner. And then lift up. And come down slow and controlled, landing in the center. It's like hiking on your yoga mat. You get all these different angles. Nice. And then go ahead and straighten the leg. Good. And come on up. Step to the top of your mat. Find Tadasana. Inhale, stretch your arms all the way out and up. Exhale, come down into a forward bend. Inhale, stretch your spine forward. And exhale, step back into plank. Good. From plank, just come forward and back. So you're moving at the ankle. So you're just shifting forward from the, yes, good. So it's like flexion and extension. Good. Pause there. Pick up your right foot. Point your right foot and point your left foot at the same time. So you'll come forward. Flex both feet, which means you'll come back. Yep. Good. Two more like that. Point and flex and point and flex. Put that foot down. Lift the left foot, point both feet, and flex both feet. Yes, good. Two more. Point and flex. Last one. Point and flex. Put that foot down, pull back all the way into downward dog. Adjust your length. Again, the toes grow long, and you stretch from the tips of your toes all the way back along the sole of your foot, all the way back to your heels. So sometimes when we focus so much on pressing the heels down in this posture, we lose that sense of stretch in the feet. And then come forward into plank. And exhale, lower all the way down to the floor. Untuck the toes, revisit the feet here. Where is the center of the heel pointing? Can you spread the foot so that the sole of the foot sort of spins open? Can you find the little toe side down, the big toe side down? And again, if the ceiling were to come down at an angle to touch the back of your feet, what points would you have greater contact with? Come into a low cobra. and come down. Good. Stretch your arms all the way out in front of you. Good. Reach your arms nice and long. Bring your forehead down. Reach your legs way long. And relax. Bring your hands down to your side, or one arm, I should say, and then just roll over onto your back. So, whatever's easier. Bend your knees, put your feet flat on the floor. Grab a block. Place your block underneath your pelvis. Feel how your feet contact the floor. Feel the domes of the feet. And see if as you breathe here, you can feel the breath coming up through the domes of the feet. So just like the diaphragm, the tripod of the foot that creates the dome gets to lift and fall ever so slightly. Marla, come down onto the lower part, just because it's more of a foot thing. Yeah, just want you to rest and feel the feet. Three more breaths here. Observing how any limitations in the flexibility of the foot will have a response all the way up. So I love to do work when you're lying on your back and your legs are up. And you get to do all kinds of hip work. But then to be able to apply it to standing postures, that's where it gets really special. Slowly push into your feet. Slide the block out. Stretch your legs all the way out. Take a nice 10, 15-minute Shavasana. And when you get up, feel the new awareness you have in your feet and in your gait. We look forward to having you next time here on Udaya.com. Namaste.